and welcome to the Transatlantic Sports Show. Promised you we'd be back, and here we are, a week after our last recording. We're back with more NFL chat, this time focusing on the Las Vegas Raiders. Thank you very much for downloading and subscribing to the Transatlantic Sports Show. Some of our podcast numbers from last week's pod, it was the first one in a while, were exceptional. So we do thank you very much for that. And thanks for the kind words as well, those of you who have reached out. Do us a favor, if you are listening again, please tell your friends about us. Tell them to follow us on social media at TASS_UK. I'm your host, Anthony Wootton. I present the NFL on BBC 5 Live throughout the regular season and in the playoffs as well, throughout the NFL season. But yeah, you can follow me on social media at ARWootton, WOOTTON. As I said, coming up on this special episode, we are talking Raiders because we are now less than a month away until the NFL draft. And of course, the Las Vegas Raiders have the first overall pick. And who's it going to be? I wonder. Fernando Mendoza. There's been talk of others perhaps, but I think that may be just stirring the pot to draw a little bit of intrigue into the first round of the NFL draft. I'm joined in this episode by a very special guest, your boy Q. He is Mr. Raiders himself. He covers so much Las Vegas Raiders football for radio that, I mean, just check him out on social media and you'll see how active he is. He is the guy with his finger on the pulse as far as the Las Vegas Raiders are concerned. So he is the best guy to guide us through the draft. Talk about what went wrong with the Raiders in 2025. You know, they finished as the worst team in the NFL. Sorry, Raiders fans, those of you who are tuning in. But look, we got to be honest about this stuff. You know, how much influence does Tom Brady have on this Raiders team? And what does the future hold with Clint Kubiak as the new head coach? Exciting times to be a Las Vegas Raiders fan. So let's get to it, shall we? And join our interview with your boy Q. Joining me now is one of the busiest men in football. I mean, a list of things that he's working on. Host of ESPN Radio Game Nights, Raider Nation Radio, Locked On Raiders podcast. By the way, the podcasts on the Locked On podcast network are fantastic. If you're a Raiders fan, make sure you check this guy out. He is your boy Q. He's our guy here. Q, great to see you. Just a few weeks ago, there we were, San Francisco, having a chat. And here we are, reaching out. Great to have you on the show.
Hey, it's great to be back with you, man. It's been a long time. I mean, I remember back in the day when I was still in Central Texas, all the times that we did interviews with each other and talking about the Raiders and football. So, man, it's great to be back with you.
Yeah, and it seems like a long time ago since we've had the Raiders over here in London. But hopefully at some point soon we'll have them back and you can come over as well. But you know what? That week in San Francisco on Radio Row, I mean, you were so busy. This offseason, man, is absolutely insane when it comes to the Las Vegas Raiders. We'll talk about the failed trade away from the Raiders a little bit later. Max Crosby, of course. But, you know, let's just focus right now on the franchise, the Raiders. And, of course, it was a nightmare year, a season to forget in 2025. But it's funny, isn't it, how the NFL suddenly managed to turn things around and you have all the negativity from last year and now just a positive outlook in this offseason.
Yeah, it's really funny how that works. I mean, a terrible season, like you mentioned. I mean, they win 3 games, and, you know, Raider fans don't want to listen to any kind of Raider conversation. Raider fans don't really want to go to the game. They, you know, see a lot of bad football. They're not excited by the coach. They're not excited by the players. And then all of a sudden, when they realize, hey, it's got the number 1 overall pick in the upcoming draft, an opportunity to get your starting quarterback that you've been looking for ever since you sat Derek Carr down, all of a sudden, you know, it starts to feel like a little bit of positive vibes. And then you're going through a coaching search and looking for a new head coach, and you end up landing on the guy that, you know, was really good as an offensive coordinator for the eventual Super Bowl champs. Then you start getting some positivity. So as quickly as it was bad and they were a 3-win team and you know, Raider Nation was putting bags over their head just out of disgust for what they saw on the field, it could quickly turn around in the NFL, and you're seeing a really good offseason right now from the Silver and Black. So I believe that the hope is back with Raider Nation, which is exciting.
Yeah, and you know what, Derek Carr, funny you mentioned that. He had his debut, didn't he? His starting debut in London. back in the 2014 season that was. I remember week 4,
full circle moment,
seeing him warm up, dude. Yeah, and there we go. But looking ahead to the draft, we're now less than a month away from the NFL draft in Pittsburgh, and I mean, it's looking like it's Fernando Mendoza, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, if it's not Fernando Mendoza on April 23rd in Pittsburgh, I don't know what it is. Look, my late great grandmother used to say, "I kiss a duck," and that's how I feel, right? If it ain't Fernando Mendoza at number 1, I'll kiss a duck, right? I just think that it makes all the sense in the world. I know there'll be a lot of conversation leading up into the draft about why the Raiders shouldn't draft him, why he's not going to be the guy they expect him to be, why they should trade back and get more draft pick. Like all that, you can make an argument and you can make it make sense, but it also makes sense just to keep it simple. Right? Just the quarterback is there. You need a quarterback. You have the number 1 overall pick. You haven't had that since 2007. Just go ahead and make the pick. Get your quarterback. You don't have to play him day 1 if he's not ready, but just go get your quarterback and start the road to what you believe is turning this organization around.
Amen to that. And you know what? He looks like a composed young man. I saw him. I mean, humble brag, but I saw him at the Adidas party in San Francisco, and I was there milling with the likes of Trevor Lawrence behind the scenes, interviewed Amon-Ra St. Brown, had a good chat with Brock Purdy. On the decks, people watching on YouTube will be able to see this.
You sound like you at the party in San Francisco. Why wasn't I with you?
On the decks was Tyreek Hill of all people, man. He was spinning the wheels of steel. So if you're watching this on YouTube, you'll see the picture that I took of Tyreek Hill spinning the wheels of steel. And there was Fernando Mendoza. He wasn't doing interviews, but he was just chilling out. He's looking composed, and he has got the makings you would hope and expect, and he certainly, it looks like he does, of a potential franchise QB. And I tell you what, Q, that was a great party. The drinks were flowing, the food was flowing. It was all good, all good. We got some good swag as well.
Row. I was with the wrong people, man. I was out here working, acting like I needed to do something. I should have been hanging out with you. What's wrong with me?
Man, next time, I got you, man. I got you. Super Bowl, SoFi, we'll head down. What are you doing for the World Cup? I'll be out there.
Okay.
But hey, going back to Mendoza. There's been a lot of chat though over the past few days about Ty Simpson, the guy out of Alabama, right?
Yep.
I mean, are you buying into any of that, or is that just talk, just to try and stir a bit of interest into this draft?
Yeah, it's for drama, right? It's for draft drama. We're less than a month away from the start of the draft, as you mentioned, and there's no RG3 versus Andrew Luck. There's no, Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels. There's no Cam Ward versus Shedeur Sanders. There's none of that, right? It's Fernando Mendoza, and then that's it. So right now at this stage of the game, it's generate interest in another quarterback. It's generate conversation. That's why I said you'll hear a lot of why you shouldn't go grab this guy, why this guy's not the best guy, why you should trade back. Like all that conversation is going to be had, and they're going to make compelling arguments. And well, I saw this on tape, and he had to work harder than this guy, and well, this guy's team was much better, or whatever the case may be. I'm not buying it. Like I love Alabama football. I yell Roll Tide every Saturday for no reason, just watching Alabama, and I can tell you that Ty Simpson is a good quarterback, no doubt. But he's not better than Fernando Mendoza, and he only has 15 career starts. So I'll take the guy that has 35 career starts, just went 16-0, just won the Heisman Trophy, just won a national championship, over the guy who just got beat up bad by, you got it, Fernando Mendoza in Indiana. You know what I mean? Like I'll take Fernando Mendoza in Indiana over Ty Simpson in Alabama any day.
Preach, Q. You got us sold. By the way, Raiders fans, you're listening to this and you're watching on YouTube, you'll be able to see Q's socials on the screen below. Make sure you give him a follow. For those who are listening, Q, can you give out your social tags for people to follow? Because you are such a busy guy. I mean, that week, once free agency opened that week, my goodness, you were on fire.
Yeah.
You were on it more than these NFL insiders, man. So let's get your handles out for the people listening.
Yeah, for sure. At your boy Q254, hit me up on Twitter, and that's where I put all the information. Like anytime I get it, and I'll tell you, man, free agency is such a difficult time because you want to have all the information. Like before you knock out a podcast, you want to have all the information, but then at the same time you're thinking, Well, the day's not over. There might be something else coming down the pipeline, especially the first couple days when the Raiders were so active. I mean, look, they went out and signed, 8 people or agreed deals with 8 people right away. And it's like, whoa, obviously Tyler Linderbaum was the big one, the center from the Baltimore Ravens. But, I mean, you had to keep your head on a swivel. I felt like I was on special teams the whole time. Like, I'm not knowing what direction it's coming from. But, yeah, man, you have to really, really pay attention to what's going on in free agency and any deals that could be made leading up to the start of the new league year. And then even now when the new league year opens up and, they're hiring new coaches, and I thought Clint Kubiak's coaching staff was complete. And then all of a sudden, on Tuesday night, we find out that Mike Sullivan's coming in as a quarterback coach. So it's like you just never know where the hits are going to keep coming from. So you can always check out all the information I have at your boy Q254. I always put it out there on Twitter.
Absolutely great stuff, Q. By the way, last season, I don't want to. We don't want to look back, do we? Because it was such a bad season.
It got him the number one overall pick, so there's that.
It did, yeah. But why didn't it work out for Pete Carroll? It started so well. Week 1, you beat the AFC champions in their home field at Foxborough. But why didn't it work out for Pete Carroll?
I just feel like that everyone wasn't rowing in the same direction, right? It just felt like everyone had their own agenda. But I didn't know that early on. I mean, it really didn't. When Pete Carroll was hired, John Spytek was hired, found out Chip Kelly was coming in as offensive coordinator, we all kind of thought like, wow, Pete Carroll is bringing in Chip Kelly. That's kind of not Pete Carroll-like, but maybe, that year away from football, from being a head coach, he's kind of evolved his game, and now he has another vision, and he had the resume that says he's been there, done that. So I'm thinking, okay, this is going to be a good time to turn this organization around, give them, some legs to stand on, and then eventually move on to the next coach. But then eventually we found out, and it didn't take that long, maybe 3 or 4 weeks into the season, we realized, wait, Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly aren't on the same page. Pete Carroll and John Spytek might not necessarily be on the same page. It seems like, this is not all fitting in together like it's supposed to. And then we're hearing that, Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham are trying to blend their defenses together. And, players in the locker room are telling us that it's a work in progress. We're trying to figure out these things. It's like, oh, there is a pretty big disconnect. Then we're hearing the offensive line doesn't necessarily know what they're doing. The coaching staff doesn't really have them coached up the way that they're supposed to. So there was a lot of disconnect. There was a lot of, I would say individuals as opposed to team when it came to the coaching staff and trying to put that team together. So I feel like that there wasn't one exact reason why the season was bad. It was a bunch of reasons why the season was bad in 2025.
Yeah, and look, and minority owner, we all know it, is a perennial winner in Tom Brady there at the Raiders. How much influence does Brady have on the franchise?
Well, it felt like he kind of felt his way through it last year, but it seems like now, and especially after the statement that Mark Davis put out when Pete Carroll was fired, that John Spytek and Tom Brady were going to lead the football operations. So it feels like he has a lot more influence now, and that's why a lot of people are giving a lot of credit to the offseason that the Raiders have had, that Tom Brady has really had his thumbprints all over it. Now, again, he's a guy that's not in the building every single day, but from all accounts and from what John Spytek has told us, he talks to Tom Brady just about every single day. Now, we know in 2025, Brady tried to make a push to get Ben Johnson as the Raiders head coach. That didn't work out, but they got an interview because of Brady. He brought credibility to the organization. So if that's kind of a just an idea of what he can bring just from his presence alone, there's a lot of people that would like to go and play around Tom Brady, be coached up by Tom Brady, including Fernando Mendoza. Like, that's his quarterback that he looked up to. So I think there's a lot to like about Brady and what he brings to the organization. At the end of the day, I like to give a lot more credit to John Spytek, the GM, as well, because he's kind of flying under the radar. But you talk to people across the NFL, there's a lot of respect they have for John Spytek across the league, and knew that when he was an assistant GM in Tampa Bay that he eventually would have his own team, and he's built for this and ready for this, and he's really showing what he could do this offseason.
And you're a young quarterback coming through, you're going to start your career, and you've got the GOAT, the literal GOAT of the NFL there,
exactly.
You can lean on for advice. My goodness, things are looking up. And that's why we're going to turn the page, and so much to look forward to, Raider Nation. So look, we've turned the chapter on 2025. Like your boy Q had said, it has provided you with the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft this year. You've got an exciting, young, offensive-minded head coach in Clint Kubiak, who has worked with Kyle Shanahan. He is part of that Shanahan-McVay tree. He's had success with Brock Purdy and, of course, Sam Darnold last season. So you're bringing him in, you're getting a young potential franchise quarterback, and things just seem to be meshing nicely, Q. for Raider Nation.
Yeah, it is. And this is what's exciting about the next chapter of Raider football is because Clint Kubiak is a first-time head coach. He is a young-minded head coach. He is, like I said, a young guy, obviously, and he's going to pair with a quarterback in Fernando Mendoza. So that's going to be the most important relationship in the building is that head coach and that quarterback, right? And they're going to have a chance to grow together. We've seen what Kubiak can do with multiple quarterbacks. I mean, you rattled off some of the names. I think Fernando Mendoza's skill set, and you have Clint Kubiak as the offensive brain trust there. I think some really good things could happen. I can envision Fernando Mendoza being really good under Clint Kubiak. And, you know, the funny thing about it is we talk about quarterbacks and if they're elite or if they're top 10 or whatever. And, you know, we go back to that 2024 draft class and there were 6 quarterbacks drafted in the top 12. And we all knew that all 6 of them weren't going to be great. I mean, it's just a math problem. They're not always going to work out like that. And I've always been hung up on Bo Nix in Denver, where I've always said he's not great. He's not a great quarterback. He's not consistently playing at a high level, but he's great for what they want to do. And I think there's something to be said about that. The guy doesn't necessarily have to be great for everyone, right? I mean, like they always say, there's someone for everyone. Like your soulmate doesn't have to be perfect for everybody. They just have to be perfect for you. Right? Yeah, that's all that really matters. So that's what I think is really the key here. When people talk about what Fernando Mendoza or who he is or who he isn't, it doesn't really matter. It matters if he's perfect for what Clint Kubiak wants to do with this Raiders team. And if he proves to be that, then it doesn't matter, you know, if he would have been the 4th or 5th quarterback drafted in 2024. He's going to be the first quarterback drafted in 2026.
And, you know, they're putting the pieces around him now. You've got, you know, arguably the best center in the league in Tyler Linderbaum, who's been brought in free agency. Jalen Naylor's been brought in as an offensive weapon, a wide receiver from the Vikings. Ashton Jeanty, let's not forget about him, man. And you look at the work that the Seahawks did with their running backs last season. You know, the literal MVP of the Super Bowl was running back Kenneth Walker, who's got a big deal and has gone, you know, to your division rivals, the Kansas City Chiefs. And you've got an elite tight end, so he's got the weapons there as well to work with this young quarterback.
Exactly. That's the thing about it. There are weapons in place, and with the Raiders going out and making the commitment to Tyler Linderbaum like they did, the center from the Baltimore Ravens, one, that's letting it be known that, okay, he's your starting center. Right? He's going to be the anchor, the general of your offensive line. It also lets everyone know that, yes, we know the offensive line was not good. We know that we have to address that. We have to go ahead and upgrade what we had and what we rolled out there last year. They also went and signed Spencer Burford, who's a guy that was in San Francisco with Clint Kubiak, a guy who knows the system, the scheme that Clint Kubiak's going to be running. So they're making strides to update and upgrade that offensive line. And again, I wouldn't put Fernando Mendoza out there to play until I know that my offensive line is in place. I just wouldn't. And I wouldn't. Why set him up for failure? I don't think this Raiders team is a team that's going to be talking about playing in the Super Bowl this next year. I don't think they're a team that's going to be deep in the playoffs. This is a multi-year rebuild, and that's okay. If you know that, that's fine. Just go and start building it. But don't put them in harm's way if you don't have to. So as long as you go out there and you address it, you acknowledge, yeah, that offensive line was bad, we have to upgrade it, then okay, then you're putting the pieces in place. And then, again, the most important thing when you have a young quarterback, and Daniel Jeremiah said this on his pre-combine conference call, he said that more times than not, young quarterbacks, the teams let them down as opposed to the quarterback's letting the teams down. He said you have to have a play caller, you have to have protection, and you have to have playmakers. Well, the play caller is Clint Kubiak. The protection they're putting in place, and they have some playmakers, and they're building more. So you can see the process that they're going through trying to build this up.
And do you foresee getting more productivity out of Ashton Jeanty this season? It's got to happen, right?
Oh, yeah, there's no doubt. There's no doubt. Like, I think that when Tyler Linderbaum was signed, I think Ashton Jeanty should have been the happiest guy in the building. I mean, this guy was getting drilled behind the line of scrimmage. He was getting tackled before he was touching the ball, right? I mean, so he had so many yards of missed tackles that he created, and he still almost had 1,000 yards rushing in his rookie year. So I think that Ashton Jeanty is going to be in line for a really big season this year with that offensive line being in place. And as long as they're giving him a little bit of time to, maybe, get a yard or two up the field before he's starting to get hit, I mean, he's going to have a really big season. I'm excited about the future for Ashton Jeanty, and I think that he should be as well.
Yeah, get him in your fantasy lineups when draft time comes for your fantasy football leagues. Look, a player who could be there, we don't know, come week one, but you'd expect him to be there, is somebody that wasn't seemingly going to be there later this year. That's Max Crosby. My goodness. So free agency kicked off. The talk of the trade, that was the headline drama. But then the drama flipped, and it's still stuck with Max Crosby. But my goodness, what happened with him and the Baltimore Ravens and how things turned around? Have you experienced anything like it? What was going on there, Q?
I mean, it was wild. It was a wild, 3-4 days. I mean, because you remember when the announcement of the trade happened, it was on a Friday night. And this is, I'll just take you behind the scenes in my world real quick. I get off the radio locally in Las Vegas at 5 p.m. Pacific time. The news that the Raiders and Ravens agreed to trade Max Crosby dropped at 5:03. I was so mad. I was like, wait, hold on. I got to be on the radio. Like, you got to put me back on. This is huge. What are we doing? And that's what they call a Friday night news dump. You know how that goes,
that's
right?
It.
So
that's it.
Yeah, on Friday night at 5:03. So I'm furious because I know that now I don't talk again on the radio locally till Monday. So I got to go all weekend long. Luckily, I have 18 jobs, and I had my ESPN show that I was able to talk about it on. So that was great. But it was, locally, I'm on Raider Nation Radio. Like, if anyone should be talking about it, it should be me on this station. And so that was wild. And then all of a sudden, the new league year opens up on Wednesday. So by Wednesday, this trade is going to be complete. Max is going to be a Raven. The Raiders are going to have 2 first-round picks. He's already put out his video on the podcast saying goodbye to Raider Nation, hello to the Ravens fan base, everything that he's gone through the last 7 years. Like, it's basically done deal. Raider Nation kind of got over it at that point of the time. Like, all right, well, just, good luck to Max. Always root for him, but now you got to move forward with this first-round pick, which is great. It's a number 14 overall pick. That's a great pick. Then all of a sudden on the eve before the new league year, then you find out, nope, just kidding, not going to happen. I mean, if you imagine those 4 days of back and forth and not knowing what's going on, and then all of a sudden find out that, yeah, the Ravens are pulling out of the deal. I believe, and this is just me, that they got buyer's remorse. Right? They realized that they gave up 2 first-round picks for Max Crosby, who's going to be 29 years old, coming off of knee surgery. They also lost 8 guys that, agreed to deals with other teams during the legal tampering period, including Tyler Linderbaum, their starting center. And I think they realized, like, how are we going to build this cupboard back up? We don't even have first-round picks for the next 2 years. And, oh, by the way, Trey Hendrickson's out there available, and his market's not as high as we thought it was. Yeah, let's go ahead and make the move. So, while Max is in the building, they're calling Trey Hendrickson and his agents and trying to work out a deal. So as soon as they actually nicked the deal, said this over, then next thing you know, 5 hours later, Trey Hendrickson's in Baltimore signing a deal. It's like, wait, hold on. So to me, it reeked of buyer's remorse, but that's me. I know that there's other conversations that are out there. His knee was a concern. We all knew that. He was, when we saw each other in San Francisco at the scouting or at the Super Bowl, we all talked about, he's coming off knee surgery and he's not going to be able to pass a physical if he takes a physical right now. But yet they still made the trade for him. So I think it was more buyer's remorse than anything. But like I said, that's just me.
Do you think that he stays now? I mean, what I'm suggesting is that, leading up to week 1, we saw the Micah Parsons trade last year on the eve of the new NFL season. If he proves himself to be fully fit and healthy throughout training camp, could you see a team potentially making a move? Or do you think that that's it now, as far as he's concerned, he's going to be a Raider for the 2026 season at least?
Well, my gut feeling tells me he's going to be a Raider up until at least the trade deadline. And the reason why I say that is because, look, if he comes out and he has 7 or 8 sacks before the trade deadline and the Raiders aren't very good, guess what everyone's going to say? Hey, man, you need to trade Max Crosby. If he has 7 or 8 sacks and the Raiders are really good, guess what they're going to say? Hey, man, you need to trade Max Crosby, right? I mean, there's going to be a team that's going to feel like they're one Max Crosby away from hoisting the Lombardi and say, you know what, we'll give you that first-round pick. We'll give you a conditional second-round pick. Or maybe there'll be a team like the Cowboys that are desperate enough to say, you know what, we'll give you 2 first-round picks because we think our window to win is right now, and we don't care about those first-round picks. They'll be number 32 next year, and they'll be, a late round the next year. What, you know what I mean? Like, I could see a team doing that. So I think that this conversation is really going to kind of die down until the trade deadline. But there's others out there just being, transparent that believe that it's going to ramp back up before the draft and that there's still teams out there that are interested. They're just kind of laying low at this stage of the game. And the one thing we can't deny is that the Raiders have proven they're willing to trade Max Crosby. The price has got to be right, but they're willing to trade him. They've shown that.
Oh, the intrigue queue. Absolutely love it.
What drama to be seen over here? There's nothing to see over here. Nothing going on.
Vegas wasn't party town anyways. My goodness. We mentioned a couple of names there, Tyler Linderbaum and Jalen Naylor, but they brought in Kwity Paye, Nakobe Dean, Quay Walker. Quay Walker spoke quite openly about a communication that he'd had with Max Crosby when he had his introductory press conference for the Raiders. But those are some good names, some good additions to the Raiders defense, which needed it. But there's no surprise that the Raiders had so much cap space and have spent the money accordingly. But are you pleased with the additions overall that the Raiders have made so far this offseason?
Yeah, I think that the Raiders are a lot better team right now. Again, it's all on paper, so take it for what it's worth. Yeah. But, I mean, they're a lot better right now than they were, right? I mean, when you add those kind of defensive guys, like you mentioned, Quay Walker, Nakobe Dean, right? You trade for Taron Johnson. If he's healthy, he's going to be a really good slot corner. You re-sign Eric Stokes. I think that was a big deal. He played some good ball for you last year, right? Some of these guys that they brought in, Kwity Paye, you have Kwity Paye, Malcolm Kuntz, and Max Crosby right now. Like that's a heck of a thing. So I think that's something to look at, and to kind of switch it to that 3-4 base defense. Robbie Leonard's now the defensive coordinator. You bring in Tyler Linderbaum on the offensive line to be that anchor. The other thing you do with that real quickly is that now there's no conversation, there's no argument about who's your center or who's your guard, and when it comes to JPJ. Right, because JPJ is like Beyonce, right? He's got so many fans that you talk about JPJ and they're coming for you, right? It's like, whoa. I didn't know JPJ had a beehive, but apparently he does, man. So now it's no question. It's no, I would get so many calls. The Raiders are stupid. JPJ needs to be the center. Okay, well, look, they just went and spent $81 million fully guaranteed on their starting center. So guess what he's not playing? He's not playing center. There's no question to be had about that. So now he's going to be a guard. Now, what guard position is he going to play? Well, that's still to be determined, left guard or right guard, but that's where he's going to be. So now there's no questions, and he doesn't have any questions either. He was on a yo-yo last year, right? He one day was center at training camp with the first team, then he was the left guard for the third team, and then he was the center for the second team, and then he was the third team right guard. I mean, he was all – it was like, where's Waldo every day, right? And so finally – now he can settle in a position and really master that. So I think it's going to help the Raiders, and I think it's going to help JPJ moving forward, knowing who he is on this Raiders team.
Win a Super Bowl, you can put a ring on it.
Right, there you go. Hey. Well done. Well done.
And I'm done. Right, but before we go, Q, I had a look at the schedule. Unfortunately, there's no hope of us having the Raiders coming over to London in 2026.
Right.
However, European-wise, they are a road team for the New Orleans Saints, and the Saints have got a home game in Paris. Could we see the Raiders in Paris?
I mean, you could, right? I think that there's a chance. I do believe that they play one of these international games. I don't know if they're going to make the trip to Paris, or does it make more sense to be playing against the 49ers in Mexico City? I lean to they're going to play the 49ers in Mexico City just because I think that it would really draw a massive crowd. I mean, it's going to draw a massive crowd regardless. I could play against you in Mexico City and it'd be a big crowd if the NFL promotes it, right? You know what I mean? Like they promote everything.
If they pay us right as well.
Well, that too. But, I think the Niners and Raiders in Mexico City would be huge. But, yeah, I mean, there's a chance that they could be in Paris. And the one thing I do know is that the NFL is really leaning into making sure they have so many of these international showcase games every single year. And I heard that there's there's like a rumor and report out there that they at some point want to get to where every team has one international game a year. Like that.
That's right.
Which would be huge. And they're obviously they got a thumbprint on the sports in general, right? The NFL could sneeze if we tune in to watch it, right? I mean, they make everything big in the National Football League. So of course they want to get that whole global, that feel. And so they're definitely going to trend towards that sooner rather than later.
And the Raiders, of course, played the first ever NFL game at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, that game in 2019 against the Chicago Bears. Look, Pittsburgh is a great city, great football town. I've had the pleasure of going out there and covering a Steelers game. Will you be heading east as far as you're concerned for the NFL draft later this month?
Absolutely. It's my favorite event of the year. I mean, the Super Bowl is great, but my favorite event of the year is the NFL draft. All 32 fan bases are there represented, and they're so fired up and excited. They think that next guy that crosses the stage is going to be the guy, right? The guy that's going to take them to the promised land. And then you see some fans, and I know Raider Nation remembers this in Tennessee when they had the draft, and the first pick overall was number 4 overall was Cleve Farrell. That was right after they had lost Khalil Mack, and they earned all those first round picks. And Cleve Farrell was the pick. And I remember just scanning the crowd there in Nashville, and all you saw was Raider fans like, huh? What? Who? Wait, why? What are you doing? What? And so you get those moments as well. But the draft is fantastic. The Raiders having the number 1 overall pick. Can't wait to get the opportunity to talk to Fernando Mendoza when he crosses the stage and meets, cool. Roger Goodell, and then comes off the stage and get to talk to him. I did that with Ashton Jeanty last year, Tyree Wilson a couple years ago in Kansas City. So anytime the Raiders' first-round pick is actually there in attendance, I always get that one of those first early interviews. And so I always feel like that's always a blessing. So, yeah, man, the NFL draft, I look forward to being there April 23rd in Pittsburgh.
Love that, Q, and that's why people need to be following you on social media and checking out your fantastic work. I said later this month, of course, the month of March isn't over yet, so by the time this podcast is published, but you know what? We are inching towards it now. I know this year is flying by. It'll be training camp before you know it. Yeah. We have the World Cup on your doorstep. Yep. I mean, what a great venue as well in Vegas. I was fortunate to be at the Allegiant Stadium back in 2024 for the Super Bowl out there between the Chiefs and the 49ers. I mean, that stadium is... You
know what I've learned in this conversation that we've had? I'm hanging out with the wrong people. Like, what am I doing? Why am I not hanging out with you? Everywhere you've been, it sounds like it's fantastic. Who am I hanging out with, man? I got to find some new friends.
Hey, if you like soccer, man, I can hook you up.
I can learn to like soccer. That ain't nothing, man.
Let's go, Q. I'll see you in Paris, in Mexico. We're there. Go. All right. Party time. Q, look, enjoy the draft, man, and we'll hook up again. No doubt, around about training camp. But who knows? Who knows where I'll be? Maybe we can hook up in person again at some point.
There you go. We will, definitely. When I see you next in person, you're going to have to do a lot of work to shake me, man. I'm like, hey, I know who to hang out with. That guy right
there. Good man, Q. Have a great one.
Appreciate you, brother.
Absolutely great stuff. My thanks to Q for joining us. He has always been a great pleasure and a delight to chat to. Had him on the radio when I presented on Love Sport Radio back in the day. And I just know that whenever we need anything on the Raiders, Q is your guy. Flashing up at the bottom of the screen if you're watching on YouTube are his social handles again. Make sure you give him a follow if you are a Raiders fan. Even if you're an NFL fan and you want to get your Raiders info just so you can brag with your friends, your boy Q is the guy. And check out his podcast as well, Locked On Raiders podcast. And if you want to tune into Raider Nation Radio, and of course he is the ESPN Radio Game Night host as well, amongst other things, as you discovered from your boy Q. Thanks so much for listening. Give us a follow, give us a like, give us a subscribe, because that gets the algorithms going. That will help people find us, and we can provide a lot more great content. It's great to be back. It really is fun. I love recording these programs and talking football. We'll talk some MLB now the season has started as well, and we'll get some great exclusive content heading your way. I am an accredited member of the media, so we should get some good insight and interviews with some of the NFL teams. And of course, as soon as we know which teams will be coming over here to take on the Washington Commanders and the Jacksonville Jaguars, we'll have it here on the Transatlantic Sports Show for you. So until next time,